Welcome back to Crypto Corner here on Schwab Network. I'm Jenny Horn, and joining me today is Jim Ferraioli, Director of Crypto Research and Strategy at the Schwab Center for Financial Research. And so, Jim, thank you so much for joining today. Ethereum has, of course, been gaining some significant ground on Bitcoin recently, but what's really behind that shift, and where are we seeing some emergent opportunities right now?
Hey, Jenny. Good morning. Thanks for having me on again. Over the past month, Ether rather, it's outperformed Bitcoin on a relative basis, and that's been resulting in an inbound of questions of whether we're in an alt season. For those who may not follow the space closely, an alt season is typically a late cycle phenomenon across the Bitcoin halving cycle, and that's when altcoins broadly outperform Bitcoin. We feel we're still very early in the initial recovery stages of the bear market. And so we think it's a bit too soon to see an altcoin season here. What may be happening is historically in bear market recoveries, there are periods where altcoins stage short rallies. Historically, those have been short lived, and we suspect that may be the case this time. If we drill in on some actual blockchain data and we look at the activity that's been happening across the Ethereum network, on average, there's been about $130 million in transaction fees each week on the Ethereum network. And that's not just on the base layer itself, but on the layer twos and the applications built on top of them as well. So across the entire network. Most of the transactions that are more steady month to month tend to be in stable coins, whether they're Tether's USDT or Circle's USDC. And then there's kind of more chunkier activity that comes from different applications. What it appears to be over the past month, Sky, which is a DeFi application with their own native stablecoin USTS, they've actually seen an uptick in activity. And if you look at just their activity over the past year, it really comes and goes in kind of spurts. And so we think that lends credence to the idea that this may be a short lived rally. One of the kind of compelling narratives over the past few weeks was with the launch of the Robinhood chain, that the activity on that chain was contributing to increased activity on the Ethereum network. But we found that that chain's really only contributed about 1% to network fees over this time period. And so we don't think that narrative lines up here. And so ultimately, again, we think that this outperformance in Ether may prove to be short lived relative to Bitcoin.
Okay, and there are a lot of discussions around changes happening within the Ethereum ecosystem. And so, what developments are most important, in your opinion, for investors to be paying attention to right now?
Sure. And so a few weeks ago on this show, we were talking about BIPs. And so today we're talking about Ethereum improvement proposals. And so recently, one was put forth by the Ethereum Foundation that would impact how validators rewards are issued. And ultimately, it would reduce some of the Ethereum inflation. The issue they're trying to resolve is if you're a holder of Ethereum and you're not staking it, theoretically, you're actually being diluted by those that are staking their Ethereum and they're getting new Ethereum minted as a reward. So it was looking to kind of balance that out. One of the things to point out is that the Ethereum inflation rate is quite low. The circulating supply of Ether has been growing less than 1% a year over the past few years. And so it's not really having inflation issues. The market price for something over the long run should fall at the intersection between supply and demand. And so it seems that those at the Ethereum Foundation are trying to maybe over time result in higher demand by shifting the supply side of Ether. Some of the things to think about here, though, is if the protocol is going to go through changes like this, does it really make sense to be doing this as you're finally having financial institutions across the world start to tokenize assets on public blockchains like Ethereum? It may not be received that warmly if you're going to be making long-term decisions around using tokenization for your business. If the foundations kind of making changes like this. And to be clear, this is just a proposal. It's not definitely going into effect, but so it's sparked a debate in the past couple days in the Ethereum community.
Okay, and then security does also remain a major topic in crypto. And so, Jim, as adoption grows, what needs to improve to make the ecosystem more secure and obviously also have the public perceive it as more secure?
Exactly. And security is one of the paramount issues in any investment. Obviously, Bitcoin's been in the news over the past week with a cold wallet provider getting hacked. Over $100 million worth of Bitcoin has been stolen during this period. And so we want to make it sure that clients and investors know that the blockchains themselves are quite secure. And issues have always been where you're onboarding, whether that's an exchange. Earlier on in Bitcoin's history, there had been some exchanges that got hacked, or on the wallet side, right? So the actual network itself is secure. It's kind of the on ramp and off ramps. And when you move beyond Bitcoin and into more smart contract platforms and DeFi, another critical issue is when you're bridging assets to other blockchains. And so again, it's generally the on-ramps and connections onto the blockchain themselves that present potential weaknesses. Now, we've been doing some research on the blockchains themselves and how secure they are. And we found specifically with Bitcoin and other proof of work blockchains that the larger and more scalable that they are and decentralized they are, that actually improves their network security. It makes it very hard for a malicious actor to come in and maybe try to take control of the network. It would take an enormous amount of capital resources. We estimate over $15 billion just to get the native infrastructure. And then we still feel that there's a very limited amount of reward you could get, even if you could successfully capture a 51% control of the network. And so the big picture we were trying to make here is the blockchains themselves are very secure, and the larger they get, their security becomes self reinforcing. The issue has always been on the connectivity to the blockchain. And so it's a shame that this has happened. It's obviously hoping investors that have been impacted, there's a means to get their stolen Bitcoin back. But ultimately, it does prove as a learning experience. It shows things that need to be improved, shows things that can be changed as crypto becomes more adopted throughout the mainstream investor client base.
All right, good place to leave it. So appreciate your time today, Jim Ferraioli, Director of Crypto Research and Strategy at the Schwab Center for Financial Research. That's going to wrap up this edition of Crypto Corner. Subscribe to the Schwab Network YouTube channel for weekly episodes. I'm Jenny Horn. We'll see you again next time.